Thank you very much. There are the notes. Here's a PowerPoint presentation. Don't be frightened, I'm not going to go through that. PowerPoint there is just because you're going to be half pissed and not remember most of what I'm going to say. If you're at all interested and you want us to email that to you, just give one of your cards to one of my staff, and I'm sure we can send you some notes. On that note, I'll thank some of my staff. Katrina in particular. Trina, where are you?
I'm here.
Yeah. For making sure everyone's got drinks and nibblies. Are you having a good time? Are you being well fed?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Trina, Katarina, my sales and marketing manager, and some of my staff. Really thank you so much for taking that out, and all I have to do is stand up here and give a talk. So who is White Chalk Road? We're an online marketing agency. We specialise in SEO, paid search, display advertising, remarketing, that sort of thing. We don't build websites, for those people who don't understand that, so we're a little bit different from that. But we do partner with a number of designers around to make sure that you as a customer get the best possible experience from all aspects of being online. And we just happen to have one of our partners that works with us do a fantastic job in terms of web design and branding and that sort of thing. So yes, Elisa and Michael from Design City. Sorry, we got the name badges wrong.
It says we're from White Chalk Road, but we do partner with them. So.
Did you want to say something? Just who you are? Just very quickly.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we've been working with White Chalk Road. I want to see you. Thanks for putting me on the spot, Charles.
You didn't know it was coming.
I've actually known you for what, about 18, 20 years, something like that. We're a Design City branding agency. We're a small group. We like working with the companies on a sort of personal level rather than being from a big branding agency. So we do brand identity, brand strategy, website development, website design. We're predominantly designers that cover all aspects and have adapted over the years. But yeah, we definitely partner with people that we can't, we don't have in-house. We've always liked to have everything in-house because we like to build a relationship with our clients rather than outsource it to various people. But thank you. And SEO, awesome. Okay, so we've been in this office a couple of years and we quite like it in Victoria Park, and we're very appreciative of the local chambers, and it's so nearby and it's fantastic to have their support. Word of mouth is as important as it ever was, but word of mouth happens on the internet as well, so don't forget that. When we were in Perth, 8 years ago, the marketing mix was very, very different. The marketing world was very different, as I'm sure you know. Marketing used to be mainly about printing a business card, doing some stationery. Everyone had yellow pages to some extent. And you might just think about a website, but a lot of the people that came to us then, it was mostly a glorified online brochure, and they didn't have much budget for SEO. You know, it was more like a technical exercise. What can I do to my site in order to make the search engines find me? Fast forward 8 years, the environment's very different, isn't it? Extremely different. What have you got? You've got Google AdWords, you've got SEO, you've got Twitter and Facebook, social media, remarketing, display advertising. So for the small business owner who's got to run a business and keep abreast of all that, it's pretty hard, isn't it? It's a more complex world than it used to be. The other thing that's changed is actually the consumer behaviour has changed, hasn't it? Greatly, right? So in the old days, people were fairly receptive to sort of broadcast push modelling of marketing. You know, you push out ads on the television and the radio and that sort of thing, if you can as an SME, for radio ads or TV, only if you could. But these days, people like to find information for themselves. They like to consult with their peers and that sort of thing. So they're more into pull marketing or inbound marketing. So the environment's really changed. So when we moved here, back a couple of years ago, we found that we were just inundated with work. We had a lot of people here that wanted to know about these things, were confused. And so we started to give some more in-depth advice to our clients. So what I'm going to do is very briefly share in 5 bullet points some of the advice that I've learned that can succinctly give you an idea of what's important if you want to look at your overall marketing mix. We're very much a holistic company. We're not just interested just purely in rankings. So this is why I want to impart these 5 important points. This is the only time I'm going to refer to the slide, but we have 5 tips for you today. One of the things is about changing that marketing mix. You need to change your marketing mix according to where your audience is, right? And these days, your audience, where's your audience? It's online. Only 2 years ago, the number of hours that people spend in front of a PC or a smartphone compared to the television set actually exceeded. Right? So people are online, and now they're moving towards smartphones. So if you look at your Google Analytics, you'll find that almost 50% of people actually using smartphones or tablets. So the audience has changed, and the nature of what they prepared to stomach is changed. So no longer can you just put a website up and say, I'm sure you've done this occasionally, points of what services you offer online, and that's good enough. You know, I do this, I'm the best at this, right? People want to have some value, so you've got to give some real value. So important to look at your mix. So go and look at Yellow Pages, and if you're spending money on Yellow Pages, say, well, that doesn't work anymore, so I need to change my marketing mix. So what you need to do is just reevaluate your priorities in terms of the different channels that you might use for marketing. So that's the first point that you need to do. And what we often say to them is, if you're going to approach us or a web designer or somebody like that, just go back to the basics. What are your goals you're trying to achieve first? All right? And only then you look and say, what channels can I achieve it through? Is my business suitable for SEO, or online marketing, or for what? Then you have a look at what you can service by your own staff versus what you can outsource and what advice you need. And obviously give some sort of an idea of the budget you've got exposure on, then approach a service provider. So that's the first point. So, okay, so we want to spend more money online, but these days, my next tip is to make sure that content is more towards not so much traditional SEO, but to content marketing. So has anyone heard the term content marketing before? All right, so it's a new buzzword, content marketing. So as I said, you really need to add some value. You really need to tell people, if you're, I don't know, doing bamboo floors or something, you really need to describe why choose bamboo over timber, how long is it going to last, how do I clean it, is my investment going to be eroded for this, an FAQ page, a blog, or something to educate your audience and give value back. So that's what we mean by content marketing. It's a way of getting engaging, valuable content to a very specific target audience, and an attempt to make that a meaningful interaction such that they'll move to an actionable, you know, they give you a call on the phone. So that's what we call content marketing. So, but is it good enough just to have great content? And what I'm talking about is content marketing is a blog, say for example, on your site, or maybe it's an article published in an industry blog of some sort, or maybe it's blog comments, maybe it's an editorial thing in the West. That's what I'm talking about, content. But is it good enough just to have the content out there? No, not just good enough. So what you need to do is to make sure that when you get the visitors to those sites, that you convert them effectively. So my next point is to make sure that you convert the customers that you've got. So the important thing there is to understand, okay, if I've got a website and I want more sales leads, you can certainly spend more money on doubling your organic search, right? But that may cost you $20,000 or $30,000 by the time you double in a very competitive industry. But if you just change one or two things, like the colour of your button, right, from a grey to a red, right? Red's passion, isn't it? So those little changes, and another things, you know, call to actions and all that sort of thing that Design City are pretty good at doing. You know, if you lift your conversion rate from 1% to 2% by those small number of acts, effectively you go from 10 sales a week to 20 sales a week. So instead of spending $20,000 doubling your traffic, you've spent $500, maybe $1,000 on improving your conversion rate. So have a look at those sorts of aspects, and we as an agency, we're trained to look for those sorts of things and optimise your site. We use all sorts of tracking tools and heat maps and all sorts of things to refine it. And if your designer has done something for you, don't just set and forget. It helps to experiment over the time, because little changes actually make a difference. Okay, so moving on from that, okay, we'll abandon this. Oh yes, before we move out of content marketing, content is so important because SEO and content marketing has a conversion rate that is higher than any other form of marketing. It's doubly more effective than, say for example, Google AdWords and so forth. Because people are looking for something, it's not interrupt marketing, people are looking for something they're ready to buy or ready to research, and it converts terribly well. So it's a fairly cost effective. But before we move on to that, the other thing to remember is, okay, is it good enough just to convert well? If you are raising your conversion rates from say 2% to 5% and you're giving yourself a big pat on the back, fantastic. But 95% are actually leaving your site. Right? So here's the trick. Why don't you follow them and bring them back? And online you can do that. It's called remarketing. Right? So people visit your website, they go somewhere to some other website, hopefully it's related. Okay, you're getting finance, loan, mortgage, you're looking up the rates, and then later on you go to a real estate agent's website and you're looking at properties, etc. And then all of a sudden an ad pops up and says, are you considering a loan? Right? It's magic. There's something happens on your computer and people remember that you've been to your site. So if you want further questions about that, we're happy to talk to you about how to do remarketing. So this little graphic tells you a little bit about what that actually means. So finally, my fifth tip for the day is, okay, you've remarketed, you've got these people back, is that good enough? Well, nearly. One further thing is make sure that those channels that I spoke of are actually integrated. Right? And what I mean by that is to make sure that your message, your marketing message, is aligned. Right? So it's consistent across all the channels that you are marketing your business with, and you also are leveraging it. So it's the big L, AL, align and leverage. And what I mean by leverage, okay, so you've got a certain message that's coming out there about, I don't know, Valentine's Day or whatever. Make sure the keywords that are in that form of advertising are actually reflected, say, in a Google AdWords. So when people do that search, what was that again, blah, 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 pop-ups an ad. And just make sure that the message is aligned. So it means, so if you're advertising for last year's Valentine's gift hampers or last year's special, your messages aren't aligned. So you just need to be aware that all of your marketing needs to be integrated, especially in this new world that I just introduced, where you've got lots of different choices to market your business. And then finally, the stuff that you read on the internet, right, is all very interesting, and you can inform and do it yourself, and we encourage you to do that. We want a partnership. We don't want to do all the work ourselves. We encourage you to do that. But remember, a lot of the stuff that you read is about the generic business. Right? It's all about average businesses. Your business is very unique. So your marketing mix might be different. So if you're an accounting firm, TV ads don't work terribly well necessarily for accounting firms. Right? So same thing online. Some businesses, promote well with this form of marketing, and others on others. So this is where you might need some expert knowledge, and get somebody that's had industry experience as opposed to somebody straight out of university or that haven't never run a business in their life before. So experience is important in that. So those are the five tips. So if you can remember them, it's just revisit as the world changes on you the different marketing things that you do and shift your budget around accordingly. Then bait your audience with great content. Then when you get them there, convert them as well as you possibly can. When they leave, re-engage them by pulling them back And when they come back, make sure all of the touch points of you being pulled back, the message is uniform, the brand message is uniform, the offer is uniform.
And the website looks great.
And the website looks great, and looks similar branding, as to credit cards versus your stationery. All your marketing messages and your branding, uniform. So I hope that helps to some extent, and thank you so much for listening to me.
Questions?
Yeah, any questions? Should have had my timer on, but I didn't. Yeah, it's my party.
What sort of budget would you want as a customer from us? So what would we spend?
Well, again, it's that every business is unique. So then some customers have spent 10 grand a month with us, and then others have spent as little as $800 a month. So it's a bit like marketing in the traditional sense. How much should a company spend on marketing? It's reaching an audience. So a little dental place who's got one store in Dianella only needs to spend this much. Their keywords are very localised, they're easy to rank for, you don't need to spend much. Another business may have a nationwide business, they need to spend a lot more. Another one is a global, they need to spend more, maybe. And again, it depends on your business. If you're selling home loans, right, and you want to be number one for home loans, it's going to cost you, an arm and a leg. If you want to be number one for a really easy keyword, right, that is fairly unique, you're selling some sort of widget that nobody else sells, then your budget is small. That's why you have to have a custom quote and do the research for your competition online before you can actually quote.
Yeah, question at the back.
Charles.
Yeah.
Do you give any guarantees, like
Good question.
traffic, leads?
Number one, all your money back. How many emails do you get from Indians and Philippines and say, we'll give you number one and guarantee it and all that sort of thing? I'll have to be honest, we don't give those sorts of guarantees. Right? The reason being is it does mislead people to thinking that we have total control over a multi-billion-dollar company such as Google, and at any point at the tick of the clock we can control whether you're number one or two or three or four. We don't have that fine control. So it's more about setting KPIs about visitation and conversions over a period and coming to some sort of expectation and a review system, but not money-back guarantees as such.
Money back guarantee, but some confidence that someone, someone that's got 5,000 hits a month, can you guarantee that we can increase that to 20,000?
Yeah, well, we can run the numbers such that you can see from our numbers plus the case studies that we've had, you can get some sort of idea of the high probability of meeting those targets. You also have to always caveat something is so that we're not the only one in the equation. Right? We like our clients to do some of the work themselves. Right? So, writing that content that I spoke of, we prefer you to write some of that content, the industry that you are, as much as possible. And what we do is we spend our relationships and our valuable time trying to find a place to put that on the web where it serves the most benefit to you in order to get the visits that you do. So it's a cooperative thing. Now, if you don't accept our recommendations or you have good intentions of providing us content but never get around to it, then obviously there's another party. If you go to your designer, not Design City but somebody else, and they take forever to make those button changes or responsive design, I hope people know that term. With the smartphones these days, if your audience is 50% smartphones and your website looks crap on a smartphone, right, and you expect us to double your sales, well, so it is an iterative process between.
I mean, I've worked with Charles for many years, and I have to introduce them to clients, and of course there's groups out there that can have set packages and make guarantees, but a lot of those guarantees are not met because of the little fine print and things like that. What I've always found with White Chalk Road is what they set out in their proposal they deliver on. So, and clients have seen that over time, and they also customise their proposals for that. So yeah, I suppose you have those ones where it comes down to a number, but they always seem to come back to someone that actually knows what they're doing and can actually deliver, and using that guarantee word doesn't always.
Yeah, the other thing,
work.
Google has on their webmaster a big splash page saying, run away if anyone guarantees rankings. It's not best practice in the industry. The other thing too is that your business changes all the time. So if you are locked into a guarantee that says this keyword, this keyword, this keyword must rank, right, then the provider is going to just spend all your money on those keywords when they may not be converting well, and they're resistant to change. So you really need to change over time, and you need a more flexible arrangement than that. So you need to tweak all the time. So giving guarantees and having a 50-page document in order to be able to nail that guarantee doesn't work so much in the industry, to my experience. Anything else?
One more question? Any more? One more? No? I think if we've got any more questions, we can hit up all of the white Road reps in the room.
Yeah, there's a number of us around, including Jamie is our search director. Hit him up with lots of questions. He's had 7 or 8 years worth of experience in the industry, so he's one of the most experienced search directors in Perth. So just hit him up with some questions.
So, thanks for that. A lot of information for everyone to take in, but always very interesting, always changing. But to give us the vote of thanks, we have our President of the Local Chambers Belmont, Lee Sanders. Come up, Lee. Pardon?
Up the front, am I?
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Right. I haven't done this before, so please bear with me. I'd just like to thank Charles and White Chalk Road for having us all here tonight. You've done a fantastic job. I think everyone's well fed. I believe there's more food coming out still, or is that?
It doesn't have to be.
If anyone's still hungry, please, there's lots of food lying around, and there's a heap of red wine in the back cupboard there. So thank you very much, Charles. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Lee.
No problem.
Nice vote.
And one last thing, Charles and I actually share a client in question. About 6 months ago I did a survey of a lot of clients about who was doing their SEO and were they happy with them. We got back a lot of negative feedback, but some positive feedback about Charles. So we'd like to give a testimonial on behalf of a client who they think they're doing a great job.
Thanks very much for that.